Welcome to Kingsmen Software's Beyond the Build podcast. At Kingsmen, we pride ourselves on building enterprise-quality software, and we have the privilege of meeting some pretty interesting people along the way. Come join us to meet the visionaries, the disruptors, the entrepreneurs, and the innovators that envision new technology solutions and then bring them to life. Come join us to hear what happens beyond the build. Coming to you from the Kingsmen Software Bourbon Podcast Studio, this is Kevin Carney, managing partner of Kingsmen Software. And I'll be hosting today's podcast. Joining us, we have, I'm going to mention Rashmili Vemulov.
Nice.
Hello.
Who does all of our social media. So when you see the podcast out there, that's all of Rashmili's doing. Also, our sound engineer and video engineer. Is the video working this time, Bill?
Oh, who knows?
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Also our intrepid CEO. And for those who've been in our office in the past couple of days, Bill has been like a kid at Christmas. You got some new toys, didn't you?
I'm always getting new toys. It's the best part of the job.
You got new stage lights?
We have lights. We have all kinds of stuff going on.
And now we're going to get a disco and a rave going.
We will have a disco. I don't know when that's going to happen, but get your platform shoes ready and, we'll see what kind of fun we can have.
Can we get some roller skates maybe?
I think roller skates are a must.
That'd be awesome.
Well, we do have a full circuit.
So you have the space.
Yeah, you could go in a big circle.
We could, right?
Yeah. You could hold hands, as you go around together, just like the old days.
Sure. Do some leg warmers, hot pants.
Yeah. Everybody always go to your left, right? You got to go in the left in a circle.
I'll get a headband, a sweatband or something like that. Right?
Oh, yeah. Your leg warmers. You can bring them back out.
Back out, yes. Talking to us today from Catapult, founder and CEO, Justin Witz. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So we met at a poker match, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So a couple of months ago, Juan Garzon took up the torch of the Founders Poker Tournament from Priya Malali from Stash Wealth. And so we hosted here at Kingsmen Software one night, and we were at the same poker table, right? Mm-hmm. We, I think we're sharing cards and beating the table there.
Wait, sharing cards?
Well,
you got to get ahead somehow.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the idea,
so
right?
Cheating.
Yeah. Well, so that's where I learned about Catapult. So give us a little more detailed description about what Catapult does. Give us the stats. Give us the, number of users, number of companies, number of RFPs. Explain what it is. Give us all the good, gory details.
Oh, geez. Well, it's funny. I
have stuff to prompt you from your website in case you forget.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I actually just wrote a shareholders letter today that's going to go out tomorrow. So I was looking at the stats. And it's fun to actually challenge your team on like the numbers you see. And you're just like, wait a second, what does this number mean? Like, give me this, like, what's the context of that use case? So to date, we've done over $340 billion worth of RFPs on Catapult.
With a B?
With a B.
Jeez. Okay.
Yeah.
All
So,
right.
But you got to like the context of our situation. We're dominant inside of the financial services retirement plan space. So when you think of like a retirement plan, like Google's retirement plan, a multi-billion-dollar retirement plan, if that goes through Catapult, we're classifying that as one project and then the size of the plan opportunity.
So this is assets under management.
Yes, it's assets under management.
Okay.
So over 340 billion in assets under management. Since we've started, we represent about 720 billion across 10,000 users.
Okay. Wow.
But we are in 27 different industries. So
not just the wealth,
or the retirement side. We have candy companies that use us, healthcare companies. It's government agencies, food companies. It's a vast array. So to date, we've had almost 7,000 total RFPs created on our system and about 4,000 instant side-by-side comparisons. So if you think like Auto Trader putting cars next to each other, same thing, but in the advisory world, you want to do that with record keepers. So what do those services look like? What's the cost look like? And can you line those up and see which is the best model to move forward with?
Gotcha. 340 billion?
340 billion.
So at what point are you going to start saying, well, like $500 million? You're like, is it right?
I'm getting close to it.
Or $500 billion, excuse me, trillion.
Yeah, $500 billion. Yes,
right?
I'm getting close.
Yeah.
We're getting close, and I can't wait to use the T instead of the B word.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's big bucks.
Those are. And then from a penetration perspective of companies, we're over 50% in the Fortune 500. So, I mean, Facebook, Microsoft, or I guess Meta now, Google's used us. We've had a litany of incredible companies on our platform.
So how long have you been around? Like that's a great base of users and RFPs and companies. So how long has your company been around, and how long has the platform been around? Has it made changes? Have you pivoted? Give us the background.
So we just hit 7 years in February. The one challenge I always ask my employees is, what is our actual birthday? Because to me, it's the formation date.
That is a tough question, right?
It is.
Is it when you first started the ideas, when you first had the meeting? Is it when you get the band together? Is when you had your first office, your first contract? We understand that challenge.
Which is crazy. So we, to me, it's February 22nd is the formation date. So to me, that's the date. Although I started the company mentally in 2016.
Okay.
Physically started in obviously 2017. We had our first paid client off of an MVP. They paid us $1,000 5 weeks in.
Oh, did you buy Booze Club?
No.
I actually, that's what we did.
I think honestly, it was like kind of intangible with the first hire I made. I met a person at a kid's birthday party. And we were the two nerds standing off to the side, not interacting because I'm an ambivert. So this is like, okay to do stuff like this, but then you'll get me in environments I get very isolated off because the ambivert's the in-between. He obviously was an introvert. So we were standing next to each other against a wall, looking side by side. And we finally just said, so what do you do? And all of a sudden I found out he was a developer, and he came and he built our MVP in 4 weeks. And literally
that's fortuitous. Sure.
Yeah, it was perfect. And he kept iterating on it. And, it came to what it is today.
What did Lauren from Zinnia call it? Forced serendipity?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Right. You never know when the person next to you is the person that you need or you want to know.
Yeah. I refer to that as spontaneous growth. So I always leave room in my calendar for those opportunities.
My wife is great at this situation because she says the person next to you is probably more nervous about the situation than you are.
Yes.
So make them feel more comfortable. Don't look at it as being you're nervous. Look at it as they're more nervous.
The other one I've got that's similar to that, when people say, if you're speaking, no one knows you made a mistake but you. So just keep going because no one's aware.
Like when you give the wrong title.
Yes.
Everyone knew that in the room. So you started in 2017, like formally, I guess. Did you do an incubator?
I did. I went through QC FinTech. I actually had met.
And QC FinTech is now called
RevTech Labs.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
So to me, I don't know everyone's disposition here, but Dan Roselli to me is the godfather of entrepreneurship in the city of Charlotte.
I've never met the man. Who's that guy?
Yeah, I don't know. First time I heard his name.
Yeah. Okay.
You totally should. I think
we did a deep fake on Dan Roselli.
I was say the deep fake. I know. So I remember.
By the way, Class 20, RevTech Labs Class 20 is doing their match. This will probably be posted after, but what's the date, Rushman? The 26th of March 26th is when they're doing the Class 20 matchmaking party here at the Kingsmen Software Studio.
Perfect place for it.
Yeah, right. But anyway, so Class 6 now, Class 20. So you're an old man now.
I'm an old man.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did that class. There were 12 of us. I think there's maybe 4 or 5 companies left, and some of us still keep in touch, which is really nice.
So you're a survivor. Okay.
I'm a survivor. Well, I feel like too, when you create a company, hopefully you can attest to this. It's endurance. It's a race. It's, everyone's better. Everyone has more money. Sometimes you have more money, but it's literally just endurance. Can I outlast and outpace my competition?
And I'm sure I'm going to project a little bit on you, but like there's so many challenges that happen every day with our company, but we project such a rosy facade, right? Because you kind of have to, but it's a little bit like selling, but I'm sure you especially as the owner face those challenges all day long, and you could just give up at any point in time or just keep fighting forward, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. We put off the highlight reel as we discussed.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think everyone's glue taped together.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2017, RevTech or QC FinTech at the time, Class 7, and great basis of companies. Can we list some of those clients
that I have?
Can I list some of the ones I found on the website?
Oh yeah.
I mean, these are household brand names, right? Like Principal Financial Group, Vanguard, TIAA, Fidelity. I mean, I've got a whole list here. It's like Empower is a big. Don't they have like the Denver Broncos stadium or something like that?
Yes, they do.
Right, the naming rights there. Voya, who we use. So there's some great names there. Anyone that I missed? Anyone to really highlight?
Gosh, you could go with Hub International, Strategic Retirement Partners would be great additions to that.
We use Hub as well. Yeah, for our insurance.
That's true.
I have insurance with them too.
No, corporate insurance. Yeah, that's great.
It's amazing how many policies you have to have.
I know, right? As we get in the RFP process a little bit later in the interview, like, every time that we do another RFP for a bank, they want another insurance or they want a different limit, right? Like, just
or their name listed on it. Oh, the
yeah,
it's not right.
Yeah, you need to show us the certs, the COIs and whatnot. But okay, how about capital raise?
So to date, we've raised 3.1 million. Our last round we did was August 2020. It was just around 2.5 million. We did a different strategy. We saw some of the pain points in Charlotte trying to raise capital. It's something Dan kind of prepped us on. Like when we were in the Class 6 program, he did a great job educating, making introductions, did mentorships, helped tremendously. But the capital is risk averse in this city, in my opinion.
I use the term funding desert.
Yes,
yeah,
100% is.
Yeah.
So I wanted to play a more strategic role. We didn't need the money. It was great to have to obviously achieve certain milestones we wanted to do a little bit faster. So I ended up bringing on 7 pivotal influencers in our industry. And I don't mean influencers like TikTok or Instagram, but like influencers in the space we're in. And the reason we got all those companies so quickly is because they were able to open doors incredibly fast. It wasn't me saying, hey, principal, use Catapult, because then the response would be, who are you?
Right.
Like,
exactly.
What is it? We don't know you. You're not approved. But when it came from an advisor that's pushing a $1 billion plan or Novon Health's RFP, all of a sudden it's get on there, respond, and just organic growth boomed very quickly for us.
Right. Are those also investors in Catapult or advisors?
So we have.
Let me ask the question a little bit differently.
Yeah.
The money that you raised, was that from individuals or from like a VC type company?
Individuals.
Okay. Because I know oftentimes VCs also, whether they make introductions or not, sometimes they have a branding or a cachet that kind of adds to that.
No, the only one that would be more public, and I wouldn't classify RevTech Labs as a VC, but they're the only one we have.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. And you come from a fairly unconventional background, right? Tell us about, your military service a little bit and how you did an RFP early on in your career that was pretty impressive.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I've had an entrepreneurial drive since I was a kid. We were talking about emails earlier. Like, what was the earliest email you had? So the one thing I didn't tell you all.
ServNet or something?
Well, when AOL Disk, it's like think Barnes and Nobles and think AOL Disk when I used to give them for free away.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
I used to sell those for $5 a pop at school.
Wait, you sold them?
Yep. Convenience fee. What became a huge trend, right? AOL wasn't thinking about this, but the reflection on the back of the disc that was clear and shiny like a mirror, people wanted those to put around their room. So from a kid, I was selling those. And then all of a sudden I had a friend who hooked me up with cases of Chick-fil-A passes for the #1 for free. So then we were able to flip those. So everything was always entrepreneurial drive. Anyway, so I decided to go into the military. I served in the Air Force. Did 4 years active duty, got out honorably, thankfully. Not that was in question by any means, but did a tour in Iraq. And prior to that, when I met my wife, so I met my wife December 7th, 2007. We got married April 16th, 2008. So 4 months later, rapid. And I was really cool at the time. We had just done this RFP for ULA, which is
United Launch Alliance.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was for
I'm
NASA.
a rocket scientist as a son. We know ULA.
So you're good. You got this one. So we were building a satellite for Italy, the country of Italy, and it was being sent out of our base, Vandenberg Air Force Base. And at the time when we were doing this, it was a $2.2 billion project. And my leadership looked at me and they said, Witz. And I looked and I was like, yeah. And they're like, you're in charge from a CE perspective. And so my first RFP was a $2.2 billion satellite launch.
From a CE perspective, what is it?
Civil engineering.
Oh, okay.
So everything that was operational from engineering, electrical came from me. So I worked very closely with NASA, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, ULA, a few different government agencies, obviously the Air Force, the chain of command that kind of runs down from that perspective. And there were a few pain points I experienced, but I never thought anything of it because I wouldn't have known there was a different way of doing it. Because every day you arrive to work, you see a sticker that says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so that's like
the Air Force motto.
Yeah, that's your mantra walking into it. But we would literally go through this RFP, and there were hundreds of them for this $2.2 billion project, from things ranging from the types of nuts and bolts you were used all the way down to the materials like metals, to launch times and launch codes for an RFP. What was crazy was you'd take a table like we're on right now at Starbucks, and we were putting blueprints with top secret information at a Starbucks table. Like, this is how bad the process was.
You said launch codes.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like,
so we were talking about silos.
Yeah.
Remember silos?
Yeah.
And the one that blew up. So you go down the silos and they're still operational on certain bases. And we happen to have a base that was still operational. And you have, when you look at the blueprints in the top right and in the top left, alongside the legends, you have codes. And these are what you're typing in to actually commit the launch.
Okay.
And those were publicly shared, which from a cyber attack perspective, I mean, it's not like a nuclear bomb sort of launch. There's nothing detrimental, but at the same time, if
there's still a missile involved.
Yeah, I know, but that's to have that readily available.
Yeah. This is next to your mocha latte.
Or you're sitting and talking, you're reading things in different languages and having a translator talk to you at the same time. Pre-Google Translate, that's what we had, was a person flying in and educating us.
Okay. Wow. So you thought, at the time, you're like, oh, this is just the way it works.
And it was awful. Yeah. Yeah, it was a pain. I think we did early estimates, but I think it was over 400 million in taxpayer dollars we wasted on that project.
How much?
Over 400 million.
400 million.
Yeah.
Okay. So where, at what point did you say there's got to be a better way to go do that?
The first day.
The first day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When they handed me documents, and hours later, they handed me updated documents saying, oh, this person didn't submit on time. We've got to factor this in, these changes. And I was like, there is no process to this. Mm-hmm. That's when I knew this is a pain. There's got to be something better. But the government does not open that budget or wallet for anything.
Yeah. Isn't that old NASA saying, is that take comfort in knowing that we are about to be launched off a rocket that was made by the contractor that made the lowest bid?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the movie War Dogs.
I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but
so everyone on my team has to watch War Dogs, the Jonah Hill movie.
Oh, yes.
Because it's an RFP about the ammunition, and it's literally the lowest bidder. And when they held them accountable, it was, well, you gave us the quote, go figure out how to get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the government.
Okay.
And it's not a bad thing. It's just the way it is. Did you happen to read Elon Musk's book yet?
No.
From a launch perspective. So when you think about NASA, when they do a space shuttle launch, or just a launch in general, there was a crack, and I'm going to get the pieces incorrect, so just bear with me here. But at the bottom of the rocket, there's a crack that's in the metal. And what NASA would do when this happens is they would shut it down, scrub the launch, and wait a few months, kind of going through the restoration process, fixing it, testing it, validating, and then doing the launch again. And Elon's mindset was, as he's informed that, hey, the launch has been stalled in time, not scrubbed, just paused. And he says, well, what happened? And they say, well, there was a crack in this flap. And he said, well, do we need the flap? Can we just fix the crack?
Yeah.
And they said, no, if we take the flap out, it's going to change these metrics for distance, launch, and everything. He's like, well, yeah, but we accounted for this as a variable, and it's still within the margin of
the tolerance.
Yeah. And so they ended up launching and did it same day. So it's just, how do you want to look at it? And for some reason, we feel like it makes sense to spend more months, more money, and more time for something that's nonsensical, when a practical thinker, something simplistic is just, do you need it or not?
He does have a different way of looking at things. Absolutely.
He does.
Absolutely. All right. Okay. So we're going to get into some an icebreaker here a little bit. Ooh. But before I do, because I need to set the stage here, this is all very context setting. It's very strategic.
Sure.
So Catapult, the name of your company, help us understand where Catapult as a name came from. I'll give a little Kingsmen background as well, but give us your story as a Catapult first, and how it pervades into your product mix and your mindset and your gifts that you brought us.
Oh,
swag. Yes.
Oh gosh. Okay. So
we got books, we got shirts, we're
going to do it.
It's a Bible.
It should be.
It's Gideon's.
Gideon's. Those damn Gideons. Mission Impossible, right? You got it.
Well, wasn't there a verse on Job?
Job 3,
the whole thing.
3:14. That's right. Yeah. Which came back in the later movies again.
I think so.
So the TMI answer is, I came up with Catapult in the shower.
Oh,
so
okay.
there's
all right. Well,
we'll bleep that out.
So my whole experience has been.
Is there a soundboard aspect to that? There's got to be a soundboard. You think about that.
Brain showers.
Oh,
no, there's something different. All right.
So the whole premise of an RFP was really how, like, depending on the side you played, if you're issuing and you're inviting companies, it's, how do I propel you ahead? Like, how do you go beyond Kevin so that you shine brighter than he shines? And that makes me more endeared to you and wanting to pick you as a provider. And that whole mindset was, well, how do you throw yourself in front of somebody else? How do you launch yourself? And then Catapult sort of became the name. But before Catapult, it was Trebuchet. And the problem with Trebuchet is nobody can spell it.
Right.
And I'm going through
you see why I brought this up?
No.
Forget now. Keep going.
No, so I'm asking a ton of people and I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about starting this company. You guys have done this before. You've had successful outcomes. You've had failed outcomes. But, tell me from a brand perspective, marketing, Trebuchet, what do you think? And they would all say,
like, what?
Yeah. Like, what is it? Oh, I've heard of that. How do you spell it? TRU, TRE?
True.
And it's like, all right, well, I think that's the wrong name.
SHAY? Is there T?
Yeah. It was just so.
There's an umlaut in there somewhere.
It was so scattered. So I'm showering, and I think it was during the shampoo session that I realized.
Was that the repeat or just the wash?
Oh, this is good. This
wash,
is good.
Or the rinse or the
rinse and repeat. Oh, man, I've got a lot of topics on this one. I'm going to pause on that. I came up with Catapult, and immediately when the word Catapult came to mind, I jumped out of the shower and went.
Did you catapult yourself out of the shower?
I probably did. We'll go with it. Right. We'll play into this. And I secured the Twitter handle for it.
Oh, yeah.
But at the time, so this was one of the funny things. At the time, though, in 2017, the trend was HQ at the end of a name. So it's Catapult _HQ because Catapult HQ was taken and Catapult was taken. So we did the _HQ. And everything we do is themed as a medieval theme. And really that's from people that I've had that have kind of mentored me and guided me and things that I thought were interests growing up. I wanted to set a tone of the right type of culture. And culture is obviously a mixture of being born and then growing. As your team grows, you kind of change your culture. So you've got the swag things here. So one of the things we do with new employees is we give them a wonderful book called Rules for a Night by Ethan Hawke. This book was actually written by a great-great-grandfather of Ethan Hawke. He took a trip home. I can't remember if it was Scotland or somewhere else, but on his trip home, he found these manuscripts hidden under floorboards and finished off the stories and published it as a book. And it is such an incredible book for perseverance, for your mindset. There's a lot of things about comparison in there. And it's just been a wealth of knowledge and sort of like setting the expectations of how you should be as a human being, going beyond what I'd call a gentleman, like Kingsmen gentleman, like opening a door for someone. It goes beyond that. And so that's one of the books that our team gets. The other is Give Your Goal an Adventure. You've got your hero's journal. This is more like a daily breakdown of what you're working on. They get swag shirts, they get laptops. Everything we try to do is fully emphasized about unlocking the potential of a person. So whatever they can do to have that creativity unlocked, we want to equip them with those tools. So I don't set budgets for employees saying, hey, how much do you need this year to go pursue things? What I ask is, what do you need to make you more creative and to give you the freedom to think the way you desire to think? And it totally changes the paradigm, because if you say, hey, your budget's $1,500, they're going to spend it. If you ask, what do you need? They'll say, well, I feel like I need a $2,000 monitor. But if you change it and say, what can I do to help you be more creative? It's totally different. All of a sudden, you'll see plants come out of the equation. Something like LED lights or RGB lights, something totally different that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. I'm not going to ask Bill that question. He's going to buy more toys.
Yeah, you don't want to know the answer to that.
I like that though. I mean, we if I could get into the Kingsmen a little bit, so we also agree about the culture and the DNA. We've always started off from thinking of our developers as craftsmen, and we went down a similar path of, a craftsman and a master craftsman.
Yep.
Our more junior people are apprentices. And we don't know whether the plural of apprentices is apprenti. Ooh. Right? Yeah. Journeyman never took off. That was kind of a weird one. But the same idea, right? Like developers are not just slinging code. Developers have an art to it, right? There's a science and an art. And we want our developers to develop their craft just like a woodworker or an artist would do that. And that does lend itself to the kind of the medieval approach. Yeah. But we started off our company name as Develicus.
What? Why do you gotta go there?
Because it's important to our story, right? It's our origin story, right? We're probably gonna get sued for this, but anyway. So Develicus, we when you get into a room and you start breathing your own air, things start to make sense. That when you open the door and you get some fresh oxygen, then it doesn't make sense. But we're a development center, and so we're Devel Center, so center in Latin is locus. So Devel, locus, Devel, locus, Develicus, yeah. And we want to open the door, and everyone's like, "What? Oh, is that one L? Is that two? Is it Devilocus? Is it Devilicious?" No one could pronounce it or spell it or remember it. And when they can't type your email address, that's kind of a barrier. And so after way too long of a period, we had a marketing consultant come in, Heather Cleveley, and she gave us some mental exercises. And she said, what do you guys, how do you represent yourselves? Like, well, we're kind of like the pit crew. Like we don't drive the car, but we help our clients drive the car. So we build the car and then we support them during the race. But they win the race and they take the trophy and they are in the winner's circle. But we did all the work. NASCAR town, not too bad, right? But then we also thought about like SEAL Team 6, like we have all the right tools and the right skills, and we can parachute in, we can blow shit up, and we can get out. Oh, we're getting the explicit rating on that, aren't we?
Oh, for the Lord.
By the way,
sorry,
field players are the best players to play poker with.
Oh, you're right.
Oh yeah, I've gotten so many knives and good paraphernalia from them. It's great.
Oh,
yeah, it's awesome.
Do you bet on that stuff?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, they run out of money really quick, so just all of a sudden just put it in there.
They're better at other skills, huh? So we're like that. Like, yeah, our marketing consultant said that's kind of violent. And then she said, well, what another exercise is what makes you feel powerful? Like, well, we work at a lot of banks and a lot of trading floors, and we walk out the trading floor and we've got, like pinstripe suits and power ties and cufflinks. And we're talking to traders and understanding how they do interest rate derivatives and total return swaps and things along those lines. And we're like, it's kind of like that movie Kingsmen, where they've got the suits and they've got the gadgets and the planes, and they're kind of under the radar and they save the world. No one knows that they're there.
Yeah.
And so that's where the name, like Kingsmen. The movie is Kingsman, but we were plural, so we're Kingsmen. See, now we're going to get this cease and desist letter from them, probably, right?
Maybe.
I feel like you're safe.
We probably should talk more about how it's man and men, and we didn't even include any of the ladies.
Well, we have
somebody should ask that question.
Denise, our partner, she is now the queen of the Kingsmen, self-proclaimed.
It's kind of weird,
but it works.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I'm going to Queen's University to do a pitch contest. Kingsman software at Queen's University, right? That works.
Very regal.
Yeah, do you know how the word woman came to be?
I don't.
So God created man.
Yeah.
Man exists.
Is this another explicit rating?
No, this should be. Actually, I don't know. We'll find out. I'm looking at your eyes to see if someone's going to go.
Call HR.
Yeah. Or you just get punched dead in the face.
One of the two.
Right.
One of the two.
Right.
So God creates man. Man obviously walks in heaven, enjoying life, and all of a sudden God's like, "Hey, you're alone. I don't want you to be alone." So He creates this other lady.
Yep.
And Adam looks at this woman and says, "Whoa, man!" Thus, woman was created. Safe? Is that on the rating of safe?
That's on the dad joke spectrum. That's fine.
Yeah, that goes on the cheese.
That's okay. I've got kids now.
That goes on the cheese list.
Okay, so now with some introductions to Catapult and Kingsmen and the names. So now we're going to do our icebreaker. Now that we're like halfway in, we're going to icebreaker. So here is our 6 questions about catapults that have been used in movies and TVs.
Oh, wow. Here we go.
Or TV.
Wait, do you need a drum roll? Wait a minute.
Maybe.
Wait, let me see.
Trebuchets as well. There's some trebuchets in here.
Okay. Do people know the difference between the two?
I don't know. Do you, Rashmi, do you know?
You don't know the difference?
I know the top 10 list.
Thanks, Dave.
So explain. So you'll be able to explain for the audience what the difference is between the catapult and the trebuchet.
Well, because I remember us talking about this, and so
I know the difference.
But and I read up a ton on this because I was incredibly curious on the differences.
Sheldon Cooper, nerd.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my mindset was trebuchet. Obviously think French, and you think it's been around longer than catapult because catapult's easier to enunciate. In reality, a catapult came first, and catapult was more for precision accuracy of targets of people, so you can shoot and have like a very accurate shot. And the weight was anywhere between, it was kilos. So maybe like 30 to 40 kilos.
Was it kilos back then?
Was it? No. It would have been
probably
stone metric system.
Yeah. How many stone?
Yeah. It would be stone.
Yeah.
And then trebuchets was between like 400 and 600. So, like a drastic difference, and not meant for accuracy, but meant for tearing down walls. So you're literally just destruction was the intent between the two.
But the point of the trebuchet, which we'll get into a little bit soon, is much bigger projectile, like 10, 100 times the magnitude, right?
Massive.
Yeah.
And more of a slingshotting experience.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Okay. All right. So should we start our drum roll again?
Ooh.
All right. In the opening scene of Gladiator, you got to start with Gladiator,
Great
right?
movie.
This is the best movie. The Romans, so the opening scene, they have the Romans have their final battle against the Germanic tribes.
Yeah. He's got the dirt in his hands. He's putting it on.
Right. What do they, like Russell Crowe, he's great, right? What do they have in their catapults?
The heads. They were heads.
No, they're not. No, it's not so crazy like that.
Are you sure?
Well, they could have had heads. I didn't watch the whole movie in preparation for the podcast.
No, they had heads in one. They flung heads in.
All right, maybe.
What are the options here?
No, it's just a you get it, you don't get it.
Oh,
there's no scoring though. So
that's brutal.
So at least the opening scene that I saw, this is not Jeopardy where I have to like fact check my answers here. Pots of burning oil.
Yeah.
So
catching fire.
That's right. So they would put these pots of oil, set them on fire, catapult them across the lines, and they would like set stuff on fire, including people,
including their own people.
Potentially, if they didn't work out really well. Okay. All right. Is there maybe we'll get a buzzer on that one. All right. In The Sandlot. Remember that movie?
Yeah, I do.
Right. The boys next door make a catapult to retrieve their baseball from who?
Oh gosh, I forget that guy's name.
Well,
the big dog.
It's the dog.
Yeah, the dog.
The big dog. The big vicious dog.
They show the big mid of the hand.
I know, right?
I bought the shoes, by the way. They came out as a special edition 6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Third question. So he gets that one. That's a ding. That's a
secured.
This is close to home here. In what Star Wars battle were catapults used?
Can I pick the movie?
Yeah, sure.
Because so if I look at the original 6 and you go in the order of like the last 3 that were done, it was a Hayden Christensen version. I think it was number 5 with Jar Jar Binks. Because Jar Jar Binks has episodes with.
They did have that.
Yeah, a lot of them.
You're absolutely right. That was the first one. Yep. That was episode 1.
Yeah. In the order of
Phantom Menace. You're absolutely right. I forgot about that one. Okay. Nice.
Damn.
All right. That's like stump the chump.
This helps that my 10 and 8-year-old have rewatched them all, and I've had to sit through these.
Well, I went for the Battle of Endor, which is Return of the Jedi. The Ewoks.
Yeah.
Right. They were like old school catapults, not fancy ones
You're right.
the Gungans were using.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I had to check whether in the Battle of Kashyyyk that the Wookiees were using, but they weren't.
See, the fact is you even know how to enunciate the name.
Now, spelling Kashyyyk with 3 Ys, that's the tough one. Battlefront 2 kind of got here, which is just coming out on PS5. Re-release. Ooh. All right, number 4. In the Grand Tour, Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, James May, Captain Slow, use a trebuchet to attempt to send what car back to France?
Oh, not the Fiat. Because that's Italian.
It's Italian, but it actually looks a lot like a Fiat.
Yeah, I know. I know the vehicle. I don't know the name.
Citroën.
Ooh.
Yeah, the Pluriel. This car, this is a big car, and it gets serious air.
Really?
Oh yeah. Talk about a trebuchet being able to launch a lot. It launched this, it looked like a Fiat. It's a small convertible, but they launched this sucker, I don't know, hundreds of feet in the air and hundreds of feet downrange. It's amazing. Went right into a barn. It's great.
Wow.
All right. That's a buzz, I think, there.
Oh,
yeah.
All right. So you're Air Force guy. I'm a Navy guy. So the USS Gerald R. Ford, brand new class of aircraft carrier, nuclear powered aircraft carrier. Older carriers going back to the 1950s use steam powered catapults to launch their aircraft off the deck of the carrier. What do the Ford carriers use?
Would it be hydraulic?
Hydraulic.
Wouldn't be gas.
It's not gas.
Diesel?
Electromagnetic. You're the electrician.
I honestly, I didn't even know they used catapults.
oh yeah.
Really?
I had no clue.
Oh yeah. So the steam catapults, the downside of the steam cat. Now you're going to get me going here.
Okay.
The steam catapults launch planes strong.
Right.
They launch small planes strong. They launch big planes strong. There's like one power set.
You're talking about the metal hook that's out there that flings them forward and
exactly. So they walk up and they put their nose gear on that.
Yeah.
And that launches them off the carrier deck.
That's classified as a catapult.
Absolutely is.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's launching. So, yes.
Well, it's called a catapult. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. So these.
I'm going to rewatch Top Gun again.
Which one?
Opening scene.
Oh, the second one was incredible. First one's my favorite.
Yeah. So these electromagnetic catapults now where you can vary the intensity of it. And so it's more of a smoother launch. And you can make it a strong launch or a soft launch depending upon the weight of the plane and what they are currently holding. And Bill's gave me the signal to move on.
No, just watching people go by.
All right. Last question, an oldie but a goodie here. Monty Python's Holy Grail. Gosh, the French Knights or Kniggets.
Yeah, right.
Kniggets, yeah.
As John Cleese says, catapult something out of the castle onto King Arthur. What did they launch out of the castle? Now they launched a lot of things, but the one big thing in the beginning.
Isn't there a scene in that movie too about give us your dead?
Bring out your dead.
Bring out your dead.
I saw it on your website.
Different animal cats, though.
Yeah, I'm not dead yet. You are now.
Yes, they were beating the cat against the.
Yeah. Bring out your dead.
I don't know. What did they throw?
Bill?
Oh, the cow?
The cow.
I love their great mustache.
Attack! So I had to rewatch the scene because it's awesome. But John Cleese, who clearly is a British guy, and he's trying to put his French accent and in a typical French kind of thing. As he's on the parapet, he turns to his buddy and yells, "Fetche la vache." Now, la vache is cow, okay, but fetche is not a word. He's just making stuff up. Like if I say English with a French accent, then it must be French, right? Fetche la vache. All right, let's get back to business here. Okay, I think we see on the website here, we've got RFX.
Yep.
Okay, so explain to our audience RFI, RFQ, RFP, DDQ, MOSE, MOUSE,
PDQ,
AOL.
PPQ.
Yeah. So explain all the acronyms and what they mean, and then what the logistics of an RFP. There's someone requesting the RFP. They are R'ing the P.
Yeah.
And then someone is responding to the P. Explain all that.
When I hired my first two people that did not know anything about what an RFP was, I realized at that moment I kind of needed to create a Bible of acronyms for people. And you'll see, automating RFX. It's funny how many different vernaculars there are to describe this, when in reality it's very simplistic. So you have RFP, request for proposal, and the intent is you're looking to do something formal is the best way to describe it. I'm formally saying I'm Starbucks and I want a new plastic cup vendor. I've narrowed it down to you three. Now let me send something out because I'm gonna have an action based on your responses. I'm gonna make a decision who I'm moving forward with.
You want to get bids, basically.
That's exactly right. And then from that bid, you're making a decision who you move forward with. There's requests for information, RFI, and there's when you think about requests for information, it's data gathering. So it's not really a bid. It's more or less the auto trader experience. Tell me everything about a Toyota Corolla versus a Nissan Maxima, and let me compare those specs. Now, what's fascinating?
Those are a little bit different.
They are, but what's the cars.
You should choose different examples
of it. You want to use the Porsche?
No, I'm just saying like the Toyota Corolla and Honda Civic. Like
oh yeah.
You all the way on the Maxima.
Yeah, it's true.
Jeez.
Oh, so Ultima would classify that though with the Corolla.
Maybe the Sentra.
Okay.
There we go.
So
I'm a car guy.
What's fun though, or funny, is when you do an RFI, like that comparison, people actually make buying decisions off of that alone.
Right.
It's no different. Like there were two things I'd always tell. And it's funny, like now I hear my employees when they're on calls and they'll get asked a question like, what's the difference? What's my use case? And they'll use the Starbucks analogy I just used. And the original one I used to use with Dan Roselli at RevTech Labs, QC FinTech, is I would use Apple versus PC, just any PC vendor. Like when you go to buy a computer, you walk into Best Buy as an example, and you say, all right, I need a computer. And somebody's going to ask you a question. Well, what's your use case? Well, I need it for school or I need it for work. Okay. Well, what kind of work do you do? What specs do you need? Are you a hardcore gamer? Maybe you need more RAM. Maybe you need a better GPU. So all those factor in mentally very quickly as an RFI. And right from that, you could say, well, this looks better, so I'm just going to buy the Alienware. Or Dell's notorious in corporate world, so I'm going to buy Dell because they're more cost affordable and I can replace parts really easily. But that's all an RFI that kind of can translate to something more formal and detailed, like an RFP, but it's just quick, tangible information. Then you have others, pre-qualification questionnaire, which is a PQQ. You've got an RFQ, request for qualification, also a request for quote. They reuse these letters interchangeably. And I could go through describing them all, but really the gist is I decided to start using RFX because X replaces anything else.
Sure.
And years ago, I just was so shocked at how many people had different terms. Like I say, you're responding to a proposal. Well, in Australia, one of our Australian clients says they respond to tenders.
Oh,
so now it's like,
for sure.
It's like, oh my gosh, how many different ways can we describe responding? So now we just say there's issuing, there's responding. What are you trying to do? What's your use case? And we'll help you. So in Catapult, we serve three different types of users. The one who has to create an RFX and send it out. The one who has to respond to that RFX. And then the third person is somebody who's managing content. Because sometimes you want a digital library of every answer you've ever used to every question. You want historical version control. You want to see who last updated it. Maybe, Kevin, for example, your answer for how Kingsman name came to be is very different than Bill's. But whose are we going to use?
Mine. Maybe
Right.
Bill's.
Mine's better.
Yeah.
So, but those all factor into it. So that's literally the premise for Catapult, is bringing all of those three aspects together in one centralized experience that is simplified and intuitive. Like normally I pull out my iPhone at this moment and I say the worst thing that you should ever say to an Android user, do you remember the first time you bought an iPhone? If you don't have one, I'm really sorry for you. But if you ever had an iPhone, the very first time you opened it, pulled it out of the box, turned it on, you instinctively knew how to use it. It's literally how Catapult's been made. Take a painful process that exists and simplify it because it doesn't need to be arduous and archaic.
When we were talking for poker, and maybe it was the Manhattans talking, but I understood what you're talking about, but I didn't see the use case directly. As I started thinking about it a little bit further, we've helped our clients create RFIs, RFPs, and it's a pain to go create those things, like knowing what questions to ask. And of course, it's not the first RFP any of these big banks we worked with have put together. Because a lot of them are all the same questions, right? I mean, yes, there's some very specific about what product you're asking for, but you also want to know, like, how big are you? How long have you been around? What are your support levels? And there's some of those generic questions that I just kind of want to like templatize and just put in there. And I do understand the RFI versus the RFP. The RFI being, I don't know who you are, and I don't know what questions to ask you. And so instead of me trying to ask you all the final questions, I'm going to give you a request for information saying, tell me a little about yourself, and making it a little more open and making it non-competitive, right? And so I might send the RFI information out to 10 different companies, get information back in. Then I know better what questions to ask back out. And then I only give it to 3 or 5 of those companies as more of a selective group.
Yep.
and they ask for pricing. So I can appreciate that. And on the Kingsman side, where we're responding to RFPs, we don't typically respond to a lot of them, but you're absolutely right that it's not just a question of where the Kingsman name came from. It could be like, what's your cybersecurity policy, right? Yeah. Or what is your support metric? What are your support metrics? Or describe what your differentiators are. And yeah, every time we see an RFP, we've got to write that stuff over again, or go search in some file directory somewhere. These are canned answers, they should be canned answers, right? Just pluck those out, put them in, and go, right? I can see the productivity increase.
Man, it's fascinating. So when you talk about your process that you have, what's really intriguing is so many people struggle with what question should I ask, just like you said. So one of the things we created to help with that was templates. And we took basic educated experts in a specific industry and segment, including financial services on the retirement plan side. And we said, what are the most important questions you should ask? And we'll get a list that's 400 or 500 questions. And we'll look at that list as a team and say, this is so inflated. It needs to be condensed. I don't need to ask you 5 different ways. What did you study and do at college? I can just ask you one way. It's like, I like to compare it to when I dated my wife. I was obviously getting married in 4 months from meeting her.
I did an RFP for your wife?
I should have, but I mean, in a way I probably did. But you ask the right specific questions. Like, are you good with debt? Like, do you have debt? Like, or you could just say, how are you from a financial perspective? Something really simple. Mm-hmm. So we've created these templates that are great starters, foundational builders, fully condensed, very intentional, that you can make a decision off of. And then the other thing we did was we launched something, it's like a request for information. We call it RF Instant. It's our most used product that we've launched in the past 2 years. This has seen more activity than anything else. We're actually shocked and love how successful this product actually is. But we have 94, as of last week, 94 total record keepers that use this. They literally, so on your shirts, it says Forge. And this was the product launch t-shirt for Forge. It is a database of over 800 questions, everything you can possibly ask about a record keeper before they can provide a service to you. So you said you use Voya. So imagine you have this database of 800 questions and 800 answers from not just Voya, but Principal, TIAA, JP Morgan, Charles Schwab, Fidelity, all of them, right at your fingertips. And then you can pick and choose what's necessary. So based on Kingsmen, not all 800 questions are valuable to you, but there might be very specific things that are, and you can just literally say, I want to see this and that. Like, tell me about the engine performance on a car and tell me how fast is it on a quarter mile, since I just watched Fast and Furious today. And because I'm going back through.
Which one?
Yeah.
18?
We're on Fate of the Furious right now. Okay. I've been watching them as I've been working out. And then you immediately get those results. And you can say, oh my gosh, I want this car. Well, oh my gosh, I want this record keeper. And so forging was, how do we forge relationships between a financial advisor and a record keeper instantaneously and have them have a harmonious outcome? And that's literally been the most successful. So 94 total record keepers are on there. Last year, we did almost $100 billion in retirement plan AUM RFPs, just in that tool itself.
Wow. Okay. So let's get into the wealth management and that aspect. So I'm going to give a little story from Kingsmen. Maybe this helps add some color to it. We have a retirement plan. 5-ish years ago, we didn't have a retirement plan and we had to go get one. Now you kind of like call people, and that kind of thing, you get referrals. But if we were a bigger company, we would have to say, let's put that out to bid, right? Because retirement plans not only affect us, it affects our employees as well in terms of what sort of fees that they're maybe not directly paying, but implicitly paying. And being a fiduciary or a plan sponsor, right, we have a fiduciary responsibility to go get the best pricing and the best service for that. And so maybe not Kingsman, but I can certainly see a bigger company, a $50 million company, having to go do that. And so there's lots of providers out there. And if I'm going to create an RFP, I'm going to go call up, whether it's a Voya or am I calling up Voya or am I calling up a RIA, like a wealth advisor?
Oh, like an RIA.
Yeah.
So if you were,
I didn't do this. Clearly, our CFO did.
So given the fact that you're the plan sponsor, you would literally be calling a financial advisor.
Okay.
And the advisor would be doing that process.
So if we're calling them, then lots of companies our size are calling them as well. And so if I'm a financial advisor, I'm responding to all of these RFPs all day long, all day long, but maybe once a week. Right. And so all of a sudden now I have a lot of these. If I want to gain more business, I have to respond to these RFPs. That's really my sales process or my proposal process. And so there's so many I have to respond to, and they're all generally the same. Right. And so that's what you said. You have a library of content of responses, and based on the questions that come in, you kind of respond this question, this answer, this question, this answer. I think you've got an approval process as well and a compliance review.
You do.
Right. So if I'm, and you have a pricing as well, so you can identify what sort of pricing plan you have. And pricing is a little bit more complicated than people might assume it to be.
But it's a disqualifier immediately, which is fascinating.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. People will say, give me your best price. And if you're not one of like the top 3 price points, just like in the government, it's all right. Everyone else goes away. Now let me negotiate the heck out of you.
Wow. Okay. So you great. Let's underbid for this.
Yeah. It's a race to the bottom.
Race to the bottom. Sure. But I can certainly see how if I am responding to RFPs all day long, this becomes a drag. It's not a good use of my time because I'm probably a certified financial planner. And that's where I have real value, not responding to the same question over and over again. So
correct.
Yeah, I love that efficiency there. And then you can also, if you are the financial advisor at more of a higher level, you want to know how many RFPs you responded to, how many RFPs you won, how many RFPs are in process, what's your turnaround time. So you have some metrics on that as well, right? Projects that are open
and that's what everyone's lacking right now is analytics and insights into the activity. Like you could take Principal Financial Group has no idea how many advisors are sending them an RFP and who they're coming from. They just know something came in, they answered it, they send it out. So you really don't know who are you growing the most with. Like what if you found out that there's an advisor in Texas that has brought you $10 million in new ARR? They have no way of tracking that. At Catapult, we do. And so we're able to give them visibility into those insights so they know exactly where they should be monetizing their efforts. And that becomes a tremendous contribution to how they actually can grow and scale their business or their sales team or support, who they're actually pursuing. But the one thing I will say too, so ERISA, Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974, not to go nerdy.
You already went.
Yeah, just did. I feel like my dad is speaking through me on that one.
You knew that acronym? Yeah, sure.
What's it beaten down to me since I was a little kid? It doesn't matter the plan size. So the requirement is that every 3 to 5 years you take a retirement plan through an RFP to evaluate services and pricing. And fee reasonableness is kind of what we classify as pricing. So any size should really go through this. And you'll find advisors that are lackadaisical and they won't do this because they're golf buddies that you met. You'll find other elitist advisors that really have a process in place and they'll continue to invest in that process. So it depends on the mix you fall through.
Right. Yeah. So you have to keep winning the business.
Correct.
You win the business, but you have to keep winning the business every 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. And then some people just handshake it and call it a day. And those are the ones that are constantly in litigation. I mean, other plans are too for other reasons, but you'll see great spotlights on that aspect.
But that also gives the non-incumbent.
I love the word you're using.
Is there a word, non-incumbent?
I don't think non-incumbent is. Wow. I know incumbent is.
Right? Yeah. What are the opposite of incumbent is? Like the newcomer? Like it gives you an opportunity to get in there. It gives you the opportunity to win business. And so if the incumbent gets lazy because they're just golfing with their buddy, and the plan comes up every 3 years, it's your opportunity to sneak in there, right?
That's exactly right.
Opportunity to catapult over the existing businth.
Yeah. Well, right? I had a
see what I did there, Ben?
That was nice.
Yeah.
It was
smooth,
actually
right?
It was a good transition into it. I've talked to a lot of advisors that literally rebid themselves every year. And in their mind, the way I'm not an advisor, so you can see my face and kind of realize that. I don't know what an advisor would look like to say that, but there are some advisors that I deal with that because they're doing this annually, their mindset is we can lose this business at any time. So might as well give a competitive edge by constantly being over informative, letting our client know, that plan sponsor know, hey, we're on top of this. This is what we're doing. This is how we're servicing you. This is the products that we're offering you. This is how we're assessing that marketplace on that continuous basis. They have a higher likelihood of retaining. And I think that's a big step ahead. Not everyone does that, but there are are firms that do.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you've built a lot of this in-house, right?
Yes.
And you've got some technical background. You've
I
got
do.
some coder, gamer, hacker background, right?
Yep.
And then you've got an offshore team, which sounds pretty cool. You just did a tour of India, right?
I did.
Like how many cities?
Oh gosh, I think I'm at 9 total now.
Jeez. Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the Mac analogy. I did see that on your website where I don't know your
Tony Blevins with Apple. Is that the one you saw?
Well, I did see the Tony Blevins, the Blevinator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's now been fired, but yeah.
Oh, it's too bad. But no, I think there's a picture of you, your girlfriend or wife. I don't know at the time.
100% wife.
No, no, at the time. I don't know at the time.
It would be wife.
Okay, it was wife at the time. Okay. But she had a Mac, and you started using it, and you're like, oh, this just makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think my wife knew what she was getting into when we started to date. But the first time she stayed in this house, and it was divided in half, and it was 5 girls on one side, 5 guys on another. And I got invited over, hanging out because there's this big party. The downside being in the military, as you know, is you all of a sudden you see drugs come out, you're like hiding because you can get kicked out immediately. So I'm at this party, and Marissa's like, oh, this is my room, and there's people everywhere. And all of a sudden on her desk, I see the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen aside from her. And it was the white 13-inch MacBook. And I walked over and I was like,
really fist bump.
Yeah. I walk over and I touch it and I'm like, what is this? And she's like, it's a Mac. And I was like, do you mind if I just tinker for a minute? And she's like, sure. I stayed there for like 5 hours. Didn't talk to anybody. I was just like playing around, studying the entire OS.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was amazing. It was one of the best gifts. So I bought one weeks later and put myself into debt immediately just so I could have one.
Yeah. You have to like mortgage your first kid for that.
Oh yeah.
But the point is that you build your software with that same sort of approach, right? That no one should require training. It should just make sense when you sit down.
Yes, 100%
to use it. So under that approach, how do you think this is where we get to self-serving? How do you think that AI can add to that? So I think you got some AI components in there already.
We do.
And what's your current plan, future plan for using AI?
Gosh, we've thought a lot about this. So I think one of the unique things we've been doing, just like probably a lot of other companies, but for us, that's been vital, is measure twice, cut once. We've been studying all the attributes of AI over the past 2 years, and we've invested heavily into building out features that we feel will not only be relevant, but an efficiency driver for them. So what we've released so far is generative AI that pre-writes content for you. That's the simplest one. Yeah. We've released an accuracy score. So if you've answered the question, please describe your company to us 15 different ways. Well, you have 15 different scores on each of those answers if they're all different. So now when somebody else asks you, please describe your company to us and tell us about your team, it's going to structure out of those 15 which is the best one to use, but it also can take all 15, rewrite them all to give you one perfect answer that we feel could be justified as perfect. Right. So, and it's called Relentless AI, which is in our mission statement, that relentless pursuit. And it goes on. But what's coming for us on the roadmap, it's different. Our industry, I don't think, will be impacted as heavily by AI the way people think it will. I know it's content and everyone wants to say, yeah, AI is going to solve this. It's going to remove companies like Principal with over 100 people on their RFP team. But in reality, there's so much privatization of data. The government doesn't want answers out there about how they structure deals. Right. You would never want something publicized about M&A. So we've created basically an LLM that takes Kevin's answers and creates its own AI LLM specifically for you, different than Kingsmen, different from the team, like if you're on a smaller team. So it depends on how you want to answer. But literally right now, what we have coming this year, and I'm so excited about this, is Kingsman gets asked a question. It'll structure an answer leveraging AI based on Kingsman. It'll then say, well, Kevin, do you want this structured based on how you write and only you write? So then you got your version different from Kingsman's version. Or it could say, hey, you could pick these 3 people on your team and write an answer based on all of your tones of voice, all of your information. So then it's what goes back to global consumption, world's data, versus what's considered privatized. So everything right now is completely privatized, but you can flip a trigger to capture the world's data and bring it in. Okay. So that's our way of like handling the PII, PHI that kind of passes back and forth.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
cool.
that only covers one aspect. That's not the contract creations. That's not asking questions. We have a whole AI model just for that as well. So AI is we're thrilled right now.
Yeah. I mean, where you're answering all the questions, and that's coming up with the answer, the content is not that hard. Making it sound good is the hard part.
Yeah. So
right. How many times have we rewritten those things, Bill? Right. I mean, like, you're like, oh, that didn't sound so great.
Yeah.
The average person responding to an RFP is 39 hours. So without AI, Catapult took it from 39 hours to just under depressing. 45 minutes.
Really? Now, that's exciting.
Now with AI, we're down to like 6 to 7 minutes, because really we still want to implement that proofreading process. So when you factor time on project, and that's one of the metrics we track, is how much time are you spending on the project? Average person's in there less than 10 minutes, start to finish. Now, when you factor compliance oversight and their manual eye coming in, that's a little bit different. But overall, we're not touching hours anymore.
Yeah.
So now just imagine you can, like Principal as an example, could go from 2,000 a year to now 13,000, same head count, no change.
You actually have a calculator on your website, right?
Yeah. ROI calculator.
Yeah. That's pretty neat. Yeah. Bill, can you bring that up maybe?
Well, I don't even know where it is. That's the scary part.
I can probably find it.
Resources. It would be under resources, and then ROI.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can break down your team here, how much time is being spent, and we kind of calculate based on what we're seeing, what your cost comparison would be and your hour comparison. So left side's 3 head count, 8 hours on average spent, 120 hours, $120 for hourly pay, because you can factor in pay into here, and you kind of see, is our tool worth it or not? And then are we saving you time or not? Some people could care less about time savings. They care more about, hey, do we have centralized access for a team all over the world?
Yeah.
Like Principal, they're in so many different countries, different time zones, different language barriers. So they have different libraries, a library in Japanese versus English versus French versus any other language you can imagine. And that's how they set it up in our system.
Right. Yeah. I mean, forget efficiency for a second, right? If we talk about things like consistency of answers, or a subject matter expert reviewing the information, or compliance reviewing the information, or audit trails and things along those lines, right? That's valuable right there, even if you didn't have a single hour of efficiency.
That's exactly right. Yeah, you got to prioritize what's your threshold for like a good metric for value, and then can we then increase it and make it better?
Right. Okay. All right. So what's coming up the next 12 months? Let's bring this to a close and like give the looking. Okay, we're being shot out of the catapult, and what are we seeing in the next 12 months?
So for us, obviously, big focus right now is AI and gaining more market shares. I mean, literally the requirement right now for us internally. So we are heavily focused on building out a sales team in a bigger way than what we have right now. We obviously have the clients and the customers on our platform that are obviously making us profitable and allowing us to grow significantly, which is a wonderful attribute. But AI is literally the big focus.
Okay, great. And then if people want to get in touch with you, how are they going to get in touch with you? Website, events you're attending, things along those lines?
Oh, gosh. So you've got catapulthq.com. I'd give you my cell phone, but I can't do that.
Is it Catapult-HQ?
No, just Catapult HQ, all one. Okay. Would it be classified as one word? I guess if you say it fast enough, it's one word. At events that we're going to, so you've got Napa, which is the start of April. I forget what it stands for, but it's a pension thing, big financial industry, which segment once, first week of April. Atlassian's Team Summit Conference is at the end of April, but you'll find me pretty much anywhere around the world for conferences.
Okay. They can follow you on LinkedIn.
And LinkedIn, Justin Witz, you'll find me there. Twitter.
X.
X. Oh, gosh, geez. Going back to the Elon comment.
Which is your bigger preference, LinkedIn or X?
X. It's more active. I feel like...
No, I'm just like, where if someone wanted to get in touch with you.
Oh, LinkedIn. LinkedIn would be the one to do it on.
Yeah. Or fill out the contact card on the website. Okay. All right. Well, Justin, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's been great. Yeah. And to all the stuff we bleeped out, people don't need to know about that. So it's all good. It's all good. All right. Rashmili, thank you for giving me the signal to wrap it up. Bill, do we record? Okay. Did you hit record?
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
All right. Well, thanks for
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Kingsmen's Beyond the Build podcast, where we discuss interesting innovators from the Charlotte area. Until the next podcast, go build something awesome.